I asked you, who knows how long ago, about OG needing maybe getting a few more offensive reps in the seeding games and so forth to prepare him for the playoffs. Is there anything specifically you'd either like to see him do more of with the ball, or you think he's made like very meaningful leaps with in terms of offensively?
I don't think anything specifically, Eric. I just think that if we call his number to make the right play, right? I mean, there's times when, we may run a side clear out for him or something. That means it's a drive. There may be times where we post him. We know we got a switch on a smaller guy and we post him up. And again, making the right play doesn't necessarily mean taking a shot. It's just, making the read. If you're one-on-one covered and you can score it, great. If they send more bodies, you've done your job. You just got to make the right read.
I remember in a game, you probably don't want to remember, the Miami game where you guys missed all those threes. OG sort of set up in the middle of the zone and really did make those reads. How impressed were you with how he came along as a passer this year?
Oh, good. I think just overall skill, Eric, has improved. I think that encompasses a lot of things: ball handling, passing, as you mentioned, balance, right? Just getting to the end of drives and either getting to your liftoff point, or if it's not a liftoff point, you get to your balance base and again make the next decision: pump fake, get your body into them, pump fake and pass, whatever that is. So that's all to me improvement in skill area. Um, so yeah, and decision makings, maybe outside of the skill area, but yeah, he was good. We found out he delivered some. I remember that game very well. I wish we would have run those things more often. It seemed like we did find some seams in there, but we didn't exploit that enough that night.
Thanks, Nick. Stay well.
Thanks, Eric.
Going to go next to Josh Lewenberg from TSN.
Hey, Nick, how you doing?
Doing good, Josh. How are you?
Good, good. I know you've asked guys to self-monitor a bit over the last week or so, which I would assume is easier for guys to do in practice than it is in a game atmosphere once the competitive juices are flowing and all of that. How do you, as a coaching staff, make sure that you're compensating for that and making sure that guys aren't overextending themselves on Friday?
Yeah, I guess I'm going to, again, try to have to communicate that, Josh, clearly. I would, you're right. I would imagine. I mean, I ultimately got to make the subs and monitor the minutes, right? And again, I go in there with a real loose kind of preconceived notion of what I'm going to do, and then really, like, when I get my eyes on it, things change. There's stretches where guys will, it'll go up and down. There's some more exertion, harder action, and those minutes might get cut down from what you thought you were going to do, or maybe not. Maybe it's a game where there's a bunch of fouls and, they get the actual minutes that hit the paper on the stat sheet are up higher than we thought they were, but they weren't as intense, if that makes any sense. So I guess, I think, again, being real careful, we certainly have to just use these scrimmage games as a conditioning tool, a rhythm type thing, and an opportunity thing to get guys out on the floor and see where we're at. I think especially this first one will at least give us a real true indication of where they're at conditioning wise, and then we can make any adjustments from there.
Thanks, Nick.
Yep.
Going to go next to Doug Smith from the Toronto Star.
Morning, Nick. How are you?
Hi, Doug. I'm good.
Good. I think we all saw during the season that Serge benefited greatly from increased responsibility, mostly because of Mark's injuries and that kind of stuff. And he had his best year maybe ever. How can you keep that going now with Mark back and everybody healthy and give Serge the stuff he needs to be as good as he can be?
Well, I think, Doug, that a couple things. I think, Serge has raised his level of play and level of confidence on the offensive end. I think particularly because of the work he's done on his shooting, right? He really has gone to work, and that that has stayed the same. I think maybe there was a break there, but he's been in the gym now for several months, at least 2 months, um, if not more, if not more. So the shooting aspect for him, I think he just kind of feels, and rightly so, to himself that he's a more confident shooter. Now, will the numbers stay as high and be as significant or whatever? I don't know about that. If I had to guess, I'd say probably not. And I don't think that's really going to be the true indication of whether his level of play's, as high as it's been. I think, Doug, that one thing, though, is that, like, if you go back and look at last year's playoff thing, there's moments, there's moments or there's games or whatever when certain guys, all of a sudden, there's their 20-point night or their 23-point night. It isn't every night, but it's, Serge one night, Fred one night, Pascal one night, and, Norm one night. That's what I think is more what we need. There's going to be nights when we're going to need him just because of that's the game plan that's been presented to us from our opponents. And I feel confident that all those guys can step in there and carry the load offensively, and Serge is certainly one of them.
Just one more on him. We've seen, obviously, the amount of work he puts in. We see him every day, maybe the last guy off the court, getting all those shots right in front of us. Is he able to are your guys able to get that kind of workload in down there, given the circumstances and the parameters of where you are and what you can control?
Yeah, good question, Doug. We get a 3-hour block of time, right, to practice, and we try to make it similar as to being at home as we can, which means, normally guys will come in the morning and there's a weights and stretching and shooting segment before actual practice begins.
Yeah.
And as you guys always know, there's always that segment after as well. So we have the actual practice right in the middle there to try to give them that same feel. But to answer your question, I mean, listen, as soon as practice is over every day, Serge comes right to me and, like, gets the watch out and says, how much time do we have exactly? And like today, I said, you got 32 minutes, Serge. And he goes, those guys speaking at the start of practice ate into my time. So we had a speaker today. So, so on top of that, though, Doug, there is shooting allotments at night, and it's kind of it's kind of a, you got to sign up for it and reserve a court, and but we certainly are taking advantage of those too. So I think for the most part, it's accommodated. Whatever they want's accommodated. Almost. I think there may be just a little slice off a little 5%, 10% maybe. They don't get to do as much as they want, but I don't think so.
Great. Thanks very much, Nick. Stay healthy down there.
Yeah. Thanks, Doug.
I'm going to go to Michael Grange from Sportsnet.
Hi, Nick. How much do you miss competition and adrenaline, and are you worried you might, like, your head might pop off when the time comes? It's just been so long since you've been, you haven't been in that state for a long time.
I certainly miss it, Michael, but I think, again, it's such a it's just such a part of your nature. I think, I always say that, the ball goes up and your, like, competitive juices kick in, and I think again, there may be a little bit of getting used to that again, but I don't think so. There's, it's hundreds and thousands of games, you've been through now as a coach in your life or as a player. And you just kind of fall right back into it pretty quickly,
What, is there one thing you think you're looking forward to? Like, I mean, apart from the big picture of getting all this going, is there something about coaching, about being in that environment that you always look forward to?
Yeah, I mean, I always think, Michael, that we're gonna get it's almost like the start of the season. You kind of sit here and say, well, who are we, where we're at, and then where are we going from here? And I think that is always the intriguing part for me as a coach, to kind of see, what work have we done here to this point, and how much has it prepared us, and where are some of the things that need polishing, and what's the ceiling, or what's the future hold, and usually it's real exciting stuff, right? You start kind of formulating visions of how good the team can be and what the ceiling is and all those things. And I don't know, that's kind of what the job is and the fun part of the job.
Great. Appreciate that, Nick. Thank you.
Yep.
Next up, we got Mike Ganter from the Toronto Sun.
Hey, Nick, how are you?
Good, Mike. How are you?
Doing fine, thank you. There's all kinds of hurdles, obviously, to kind of laying this out the way you want to and getting ready for the games the way you actually want to. Having said that, what has been the biggest hurdle in terms of, getting that comfort level, that routine going that, is going to allow a player to play at his best?
Well, I think that I wouldn't throw it into uncomfortable, but because I kind of thought this may be the case coming in, I think I've switched. I'll just tell you today, I had a pretty light non-contact practice planned, and I totally changed my mind when I got here. I just like and flipped it and decided that we'd do the light one tomorrow and that we'd go play a little bit more today and condition and compete today. After, just kind of after going around and talking to some of the guys as they were in their pre-practice. So I don't do very often where I just kind of totally rip up the practice schedule or go on a completely different script. I just called the coaching staff together and said, follow my lead today. I'm going a different direction, and I did. So that kind of stuff is probably, rears its head differently here, right? Than maybe it does in the regular course of action in the season. But listen, there's been so much more practice here than we're used to.
Yeah.
So much more trying to get guys back to playing. So that's probably a big part of it too.
Do you know, like when you look back on it, do you know what prompted you to make that switch today? Like, was it something you saw, something you felt, or just instinct? I don't know.
Well, I think a couple things. Like I mentioned, I talked to some of the guys, and they were kind of in the mode of, we had a day off yesterday, and they were like, hey, I just feel like we need to get some more playing in. That's the main thing. And for the most part, you guys have been around me enough. I plan a practice, and the coaches each take their segments, and I kind of let the coaches do their thing, and every now and then I like to kind of come in and leave more of an imprint on a practice and run some of or all of the drills myself as the coach. And it was just probably felt like time for me to do that too. I don't really know why or how to explain that, but I just kind of wanted to let them hear my voice a little more today, and I wanted a few things to specifically work on defensively at a high level, and so we did that.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks, Nick.
Yep.
Okay, we got time for two more. Going to go to William Liu of Yahoo Canada.
Hey, Nick, yesterday there was a story in the CBC about how you and the Arkells teamed up to donate $25,000 to a high school in Mississauga. Can you take me through sort of how that came to be, how you arrived at the decision, and why it's so important to you to support, I guess, music and schools especially?
Well, first of all, we kicked off the foundation on March 11th. And, we got a close relationship with the Arkells. They played at the evening of music, and with Daniel Caesar there too. And it was really good. John Vinyl was excellent. But it's just the foundation's, gonna support music and reading and basketball, obviously, but music mostly. And it was just opportunities. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get instruments in kids' hands, get them lessons, mostly to get kids feeling good about themselves that don't have some opportunities maybe, and give them these opportunities because, again, I think it raises self-image and all that kind of stuff. How it kind of connected the dots with the article you're talking about was in conjunction with the Arkells. They called up and said that they worked with this teacher. I think the teacher actually took one of the Arkell songs and had her whole school band playing an arrangement of a song called Years in the Making, which was actually written right during our run last year towards the title, kind of paralleled the lyrics in the song about the Raptors years in the making, and just seemed like a logical connection to connect all the dots between me and the Arkells and that school and that teacher.
And if I could follow up, how did you get your start in music?
Well, I was one of those kids that my mother forced me to go to piano lessons for about 3 years that I hated. And I only usually played at the lesson because I was playing, I don't know, somewhere between 7 and 10 sports as a kid. I didn't really want to sit at the piano, but kind of always gnawed at me a little bit. And I started playing the piano again about 8 or 10 years ago. And then the last couple of years, even a little more earnestly, back to kind of studying and working at it and trying to get better. Just love it. It's just something I like to do. It's fun for me kind of personally, to learn and grow and relieve stress and try to keep my creative juices flowing. I always say that I think it helps my coaching to keep working whichever side of the brain that is. You know what I mean?
All right, thanks, Nixon. Thanks for supporting the community.
Yeah, thank you.
Final question today is going to go to Stephen Long from Sportsnet. I apologize to everybody that we can't get to, but we're going to have to finish up with this one.
Hey, Coach. Thanks for doing this.
Stephen?
You mentioned, like, I think it may have been earlier this week or maybe last week, is how much you like the jumbo lineup. So let's get back to Serge a little bit. So, like, how much have you seen of Serge with Mark, like, in practice, and what have you liked from this combination?
Yeah, I mean, quite a bit. I mean, I think usually the teams, other than the first couple of days, we kind of had the top guys together, and sometimes we just in the course of subbing, they've been on the floor a lot together, and even other combinations. I finished a scrimmage today with neither Kyle or Fred out there, which made us really big. Pascal kind of handled the ball. Pascal and Norm were out there, so it was a big, even bigger lineup. Just again, I think I just like them to be able to figure things out in a lot of different ways, just in case, right? And but no, it's good. I think we'll see Mark and Serge together quite a bit. I think that there's more familiarity there. Again, I just think with Serge's increased skill set, it enables him to play a little bit more four, and Mark's so smart defensively. He can, as you know, switch out onto about anybody and figure out how to guard guys and take away the three ball and stuff like that. So makes it good because of those guys' skill set and their IQ.